As a real estate agent serving Dallas, Texas for the last 10 years, I've had the chance to explore and get to know many of the surrounding areas. And whether you're thinking about moving to Texas or just curious where your city stacks up, in today's video, I'm going to share with you what I believe are Dallas' top 5 suburbs. So number 5 on our list, counting down, is Allen, Texas. Allen is really well known for having a highly rated school district. I think the other thing that put Allen on the map is its $60 million high school football stadium for the Allen Eagles. And that was before everybody else was now building $50, $60, $80 million high school football stadiums. Allen, when I think about it, is very much a commuter city. There are some big employers there, but not a lot of big employers. And when we think about things to do in Allen, like the commercial aspects, so there's a lot of mixed use developments, places like Waters Creek, there's the Allen outlet malls, now they're building the farm. All of this is relatively new too. Housing in Allen is also relatively new. Allen is split in half by 75, and on the east side is 75002, a little bit older housing over there, and then 75013 on the west side, newer housing, newer neighborhoods, more master plan communities on that side of Allen. Now, Allen has a median home price of $540,000 last year and just shy of 1,000 homes sold. So it's not a big housing market, and the city itself is not super big either. But if you're looking for a suburb to live, I might have this one on your list. Now, when I think about pros and cons, Allen is very family centric. So if that's important to you, it's a pro. If it's not important to you, it's a con, and you may want to look at one of the other opportunities coming soon on the list. So number 4 on the list is Coppell, Texas. Coppell is a great city. I think the story of Coppell is location. It is really centrally located inside the DFW Metroplex. Easy to get to Fort Worth, easy to get to Plano, Dallas, even up to Denton. What I also kind of like about Coppell is it feels very residential. It's not split up by those highways because the highways are all surrounding it. It also doesn't have any major roads that kind of chop up the city. So it's a very residential feel. It also has a very small town feel when you're there. So a big story with Coppell is schools. Another highly rated school district. I think it's even rated top 3 in the state of Texas. So schools put Coppell on the map, and certainly that's part of the story here. It's a family-centric town. You value education. You're probably really going to be invested in the Coppell ISD school district. So if you wanted to live in Coppell, median sold price last year was $625 and just 340 homes sold. So not even one a day. Like I said, it's a small city. I think you'll find a lot of the homes are a little bit older. There are parts of Coppell that are newer, but Coppell is largely built out. And if you're a person who travels for work or likes to travel often, great access to the airport, just maybe not even 10 minutes away. You're right there at DFW Airport. So not only is Coppell great for access to the Metroplex, but easy to get anywhere in the world. So with this being a list of top 5 suburbs, I will say Coppell very much feels like a suburb. It's a place you come to live. You likely commute to work, albeit not very far. And I don't want to rag on Coppell because it's a great community, but it's very much that. It is a suburb. Number 3 on the list, Southlake, Texas. Southlake is a great city. Now, Southlake is a very affluent city, has a very premium feel about it. For a person who wants to buy a house here, median price last year was $1.3 million. So you gotta have a healthy budget to live there. And it's gonna feel elevated, feel premium all throughout the city. Simple things like the traffic circles, the monument stones, the signage, it all has a very elegant feel about it. And then you have Southlake Town Square, which is where City Hall is, but also mixed use, dining, retail, even some hotels there. That in itself is a destination. If you live in the DFW metro area, you may just want to go over and spend an afternoon at Southlake Town Square. But to live in Southlake, you have access to all that premium dining and shopping right there next door. It's pretty awesome. Of all the cities on the list today, it is the only one that has an Apple store. I feel like in itself, that's a status symbol to have that in such a small little town. Now, like all the cities on the list, Southlake has great schools. It's part of the story of living in Southlake. Other great thing about Southlake, super close to DFW Airport. Easy access to get to the whole world from Southlake. So downsides of Southlake, there really aren't a lot, but it is expensive. So you gotta have a healthy budget if you actually wanna live in Southlake. One of the things I'd say that's peculiar to me is you have 1709 or Southlake Boulevard that kind of splits the city in half. That's really where you're gonna find all of your commercial and your dining is on that one main road. So it's kind of a one road town and the rest of it feels very residential. Could be good or bad depending on how you look at it. I would say this though, if you have the budget for it, I would definitely have Southlake on your list of places to live. Number 2 on the list, Plano, Texas. And now I know if you've been watching the channel a while, I think you thought for sure I was gonna have it as number 1. And Plano is a great city, no question about it. And that is the thing I wanna make a point of. While it's a great suburb, it is a city city unto itself. Plano is nearly 300,000 people. Stacking it up to other cities in the US, it would start to be on lists of cities. I believe it's the same size as Orlando. So Plano is relatively big. And the thing about Plano is if you live in Plano, you may never need to leave Plano. You have Fortune 500 companies, top retail, dining, great housing, shopping, it's all there in Plano. The thing about Plano is it's really well thought out. I would call it a master plan city. Decades ago, the city became very proactive about how they managed the growth and thought out Plano. So for instance, every house in Plano is walking distance to a park. I think that's great. I live in Plano, love walking Arbor Hills all the time, and there's been a lot of intentionality about it. Like I mentioned, Plano is the largest suburb on this list. It's a good sized city. One of the things that's been great about Plano is it's the attitude of constant improvement. They call it Plano, the city of excellence. And places where that show up are things like Legacy West. That's a great project. Premium shopping, retail, you can even buy a $2 million condo at Legacy West. And then on the east side of Plano as well, the city has some plans that they've made to redevelop that part of the city too by 75. It's a dynamic, constantly improving city, and I like that about it. One downside of living in Plano is it's big. Like I said, it's a city. It does have an aging population. A lot of people have moved to Plano and not left. Homes are a little older. Most homes here were built in the 80s or 90s. There are just a handful of newer homes available. And by the way, if you want to live in Plano, median sold price last year was $530,000, so a little more expensive than the metro area overall. And it's a healthy housing market. Last year, over 2,000 homes sold, so a lot of opportunities to live in Plano. Number one on the list, Frisco, Texas. Now, if you're familiar with DFW, already live here, or you're thinking about living here, you've probably heard of Frisco. It's an award-winning city. The story of Frisco is fast growth. In the last decade, the amount of change in Frisco is just remarkable. And it's a master plan city, and the city itself has been very proactive about growth. They've invited in and had big wins like bringing the PGA to Frisco. They have the new Universal theme park coming to Frisco. They have a big shopping district called Stonebriar. It's a great retail area. And then they opened the Star in Frisco, which was a really dynamic, urban feeling mixed-use development. And now Frisco is a sports city. I mentioned the Star, that's the true home of the Dallas Cowboys. Frisco is also home of FC Dallas, the Dallas Stars, and then I already mentioned PGA. So if you like sports, Frisco might be the city for you. Now, if you want to live in Frisco, it's a pretty competitive housing market. Median price last year was $690,000, though 2,200 homes sold. So there's a lot of opportunity to get in Frisco. Much of that was new construction. A lot of homes have been coming online. Sooner or later, we're going to see new construction peter off in Frisco because they will run out of big pieces of land to develop. With Frisco being a master plan community, it is very well thought out and there's a lot of intentionality to the city. I love that about it. I will say, if I was thinking about downsides, Frisco is very new. And so if everything feels new, and in some ways it feels a little bit corporate or even sterile because it doesn't have that established charm that you would find in maybe an older community. I will say Frisco is very family centric. When I think of Frisco, I think of families, but I would never, anybody could live there. Nobody would feel uncomfortable in Frisco because it is a pretty large city. So those are my top 5 suburbs of Dallas. If you want to know more about these cities or North Texas in general, my team and I would love to be a real estate resource of choice. To connect with our team, click the link below and we'll be in touch. We'll see you all in the next video.